the sweat, homie, this practice. Pondering my next move, staring at my track list. Hope I ain't missing my window. Praying like a Baptist, Seattle's own. Tired of this Game of Thrones. They made a list of the best rappers, and guess who wasn't on? While the disrespect continues, I'm steady packing these venues. Guess if you ain't at the table, you on the menu. And I'm that spitter, baby. They don't want you to see, but everybody's out the Capitol Hills rocking with me. Boys smoke the trays and plan to getting their life together. I'm comfortable with my role, so I'm like, whatever. Me, I ain't got a job, but I work hard. And you don't work hard, but you got a job. The irony is I'm judged while you feel the applause. I'm slept on, that's why I had to set this alarm. My dudes is armed, I'm armed with this arm charm. Body banging like she got that cream from Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
X-ray season is here, a real hitter with a mic, I'm everything that they fear. With that, hood ain't the same, I was all on their ass, I'm level-headed. So yo, my dudes love when I spaz, and I'm so over Seattle's passive-aggressive attitude. They don't call you back, what they really saying is F you. While I'm from the same place, I move at a different pace. I prefer if you just said it to my face, damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Average dudes with they average spit, writing average rhymes, knocking average chicks. The closer I get, I can feel the people starting to shift. I'm loyal to a fault, and everybody can't come with. Rap's a rich man's game, I'm only playing with change. They bang models and singers, I'm knocking my own flame, I'm different. The crowd, I move with the chosen few. Black thoughts, I could be the front man for the roots. No diamonds and gold, I'm on my sticks and stones. If we can see your penny line, you should have on a thong. My team is strong, through this fire we forged a bond. And they already know what it is when I get on to the hearse. Party like it's December 31st. When I'm on my deathbed, I probably cracking my nurse. You ain't got the bars to compete. I'm a verbal athlete, deflating these boys so they say that I cheat. Damn, I did it.
I did it for the city, I did it for the love, I did it for the people, I did it for us.
Yeah. I should probably start by apologizing for the long wait, man. You know, I know I be tripping. But I'm not just a rapper, I'm an artist. And, you know, my creative process is a little bit different than most. Nonetheless, I want to welcome everybody out to the Dre's Experience. I got TCF in the building. My whole camp's here with me. I got the band in here laying this cool-ass vibe. And I'm Seattle's own. Let's get into it.
Welcome, everybody, to the Morning Update Show. Happy Thursday to you. Or y'all know I love to say Friday Eve. I am your co-host, Trey Holiday, and we got a jam-packed show for y'all once again today. As always, doing this with my co-host with the most, my guy, Big O. What up, Big O?
Trey Holiday, happy Thursday to you.
Yeah, happy Thursday, my friend.
You know, Thursday is actually my Friday. I'm out of here today. Thank God, by the way. And you're here tomorrow with Feel Good Friday. How are you, though?
I'm doing all right. You know what I mean? I'm doing well, you know. A little bit rainy out there, but dealt with it on the drive. Not bad.
Yeah, get ready for that. Yeah, you were right when you said a jam-packed show today. We're going to be joined early on by Julia Jessie. Clapback Culture is back on the air tonight. Julia Jessie and Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald at 7 o'clock tonight. So we're going to pop in with Julia and get an update of what we can expect this evening. You know, it's also 1 year since the insurrection in Washington, D.C., so I'm sure they'll be talking about that. And, you know, it's one of the biggest stories in the city right now. And that's, of course, OPA yesterday releasing their findings and sustaining some allegations against former now Seattle police officers, commanders who organized and approved what we're referring to here as the Proud Boy hoax. We got Justin Carter, publisher of the Capitol Hill Seattle blog, capitolhillseattle.com. He's going to be here. You know, Cal Anderson Park sits right there, Capitol Hill, and so we want to talk about some of the response coming from there. Then also Besa, she put together the Rewind with Besa, talking about events going on tonight and through the weekend. I didn't know Giveon was in town. Yeah, well, you're shaking your head over there, Belle, like, oh, okay, it's Giveon. So that's what we got going on. Let me get right into it. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. Want to remind you that right now, yes, right now is the perfect opportunity for you to tag and share the stream. Go ahead and tag and share the stream with people you feel would appreciate culturally relevant news and information emanating from right here in the rainy Emerald City. Want to give a big shout out to our partners over the South Seattle Emerald and also KBCS 91.3 over at Bellevue College. Want to remind everybody that you can listen to the Morning Update Show anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. Salman's putting SoundCloud up over there, but you can also go to Google, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere, and just search Converge Media Network. This is the time in the show we always want to remind everybody that if you need to get vaccinated, a booster shot, if you're looking for testing, or if you're vaccine hesitant, man, you need some questions answered, we got a link going in from Public Health over at Seattle King County with a bunch of resources there. And these guys are being pretty proactive about getting this vaccination. I don't know.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, right now, what we're seeing during this kind of cold and flu season is vaccination pop-up clinics. We're seeing testing pop-up clinics more than what is normally listed. So please look up that website, click on it if you guys have questions, if you're looking for testing. Particularly, let's add this in too if you're traveling, because you need testing oftentimes as you're traveling. So there's a lot of different resources out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the Omicron is now, so now I know people, before it's like, this and that. I know people, and everybody that I know who's dealing with Omicron got small kids. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They got kids. So it's like, it's definitely, it's hitting these kids out here. And lots of people, you got questions, concern. Again, hit that link. And I'm sending an email today over to Public Health, man. It'd be really good to talk to Dr. Duchin again, because, as these variants keep variating, people keep having questions, and it'd be good to speak to Dr. Duchin.
Yeah, for sure. Get some official news on the record.
All right. And keeping it moving here, we got a short video that we're going to play. We got some good news out there for artists. We know a lot of artists and people in the creative economy. They watch us here at Converge. They're always looking for information. For culture, man, it looks like here that they have a recovery fund for individuals. You remember about 6-7 months ago, it was recovery funds for cultural organizations and groups. So now it's for specific individuals, and it looks like here they're offering grants between $1,000 and $12,000 to cover COVID-related financial losses. Right? We got a video. Our buddy T-Dub, Takia Ward, sums it all up right here.
Hey y'all, T-Dub here, letting you know about another art funding opportunity. For Culture Recovery Funding for Individuals is available now, and here's what you need to know to apply. Are you a cultural producer who has been impacted by the pandemic? If you answered yes, but what is a cultural producer? Well, you are a cultural producer if your work, paid or unpaid, is dedicated to creating cultural experiences in any discipline or at any stage of your career. Some examples include exhibit designers, museums educations, archivists, restoration professionals, curators, history researchers, artists, of course, and more. And understanding that grant language can sometimes feel exclusive to specific people, using terms like cultural producer is one of the ways For Culture seeks to broaden its scope of applicants. In other words, this funding is for you. And look, the application fatigue is real. I get it, they get it. But the For Culture staff is here to walk you through it. They have grants from $1,000 to $12,000, so please don't miss out. The deadline to apply is Wednesday, February 2nd. Head to forculture.org/recovery to get information on virtual group workshops, application support, language translation, and more.
What another great opportunity that For Culture is doing for individuals, man. Shout out to T-Dub for summing it all up for us. And shout out to the, staff over there at For Culture for being intentional about how you guys are investing in our creative community.
Yeah, no, people need help. So big shout out. Brady McAtee is the editor who put that together. Yeah, it's a go-to. All right, so good stuff. So I've got a handcrafted motion graphic here. Let's see if we'll put that up. Julia Jessie, host of Clapback Culture, our own Julia Jessie. Why don't you bring Julia into the studio, Salman? Hey, Julia.
Hey, happy Thursday, family. Glad to be here.
Hey,
Happy
Jules.
good. Put us on the wide over here, someone.
Yay.
Happy New Year's, Julia.
Thank you. Happy New Year's, you guys. I don't know if this rolling into 22 really feels like a new, fresh year because it's like so much going on, but happy to be here. Happy to be alive. Amen.
Yeah, you know what? Happy to see you, my friend. And you're right there in the thick of it. I want to jump in because we're talking about January 6th, a year ago. Our country experienced something that was so unique. Please tell us your take on it. And I know you guys are going to be tapping into this on Clapback tonight.
Oh, most definitely. So on Clapback, we're definitely going to spend a considerable amount of time talking about the January 6th insurrection. And as you guys know, I live here in the nation's capital, and I was here 365 days ago while it was all going down. Just less than 5 miles away during the insurrection. And so this touches home for me. In a way that I think it continues to touch home for a lot of Americans. It was an attack on our democracy, and it's something that we won't forget. And what we're seeing on the airways is not this high-spirited celebration, but really a lot of Democratic lawmakers coming together to kind of talk about what the spirit of America is right now, what the history of the Capitol is. We've heard, Speaker Nancy Pelosi kind of go into that and really talk about the history and really a conversation on where we are now and what the plans for this administration are moving forward. To me, I think what's most important, Trey and Omari, is, yesterday, and we heard from our Department of Justice, we heard from AG Garland, and he talked about over 700 arrests have already been made in the continuing investigation on these people who attacked our democracy and left 5 people dead. And so this is serious. It's not light work. And I'm one of those people who's going to keep the pressure to make sure that this never happens again.
Yeah, I think it really is on all of us to a certain degree. I mean, this is something that, you just said it. We've all experienced it in a certain way, and it hit home personally for so many of us. You guys, you and Mike Davis, you guys have your own kind of culture happening on Clapback Culture. I got to ask you, how does it feel to be back now in 2022, bringing Clapback Culture right back to the airwaves?
Oh man, it's really hard to leave Clapback when we're on, recess, because it seems like when we're not on air, so much stuff pops off. So I love being on Clapback. It's such a great way to interact with our audience and really have these roundtable conversations that oftentimes don't happen on traditional media. So at Converge, where Black Media Matters, we're definitely going to bring those conversations that oftentimes can be a little bit uncomfortable. And something that I think is super important that I cherish about my experience on the show is that oftentimes I may have such a strong opinion or a strong perspective, and then I hear from Mike or someone weighs in the audience, and it really allows me to engage with them and rethink and maybe expand my thinking on that particular topic. So I love Clapback Culture. It's it's continuing to shape media as we know it.
All right, Julia, man, well, we're very happy to have you back. Clapback Culture tonight at 7 p.m. with you and Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald, and also Director Curtis Delgado II, and he's running the show behind the scenes there. You go ahead and put us on the wide, Salman. So we're going to send you on your way back out there in Washington, D.C., and we'll be tuned in tonight at 7 o'clock. Thank you, Julia.
Thanks,
All right,
Jules.
thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Yo, Clapback. I mean, so they took a break in December. Clapback was clapping, fam.
Well, no, you know what? She's right about that recess and so much happening in between. I know it's been difficult for her and Mike, so it'll be really interesting to see how they wrap it all up tonight.
Yeah, no, and Clapback. I wish sometimes I was on Clapback Culture because it's debate. Like I like debate, and their show is all about debate. So maybe Julia do me a favor and let me hop in there. But before we end this segment, though, and we bring in Justin Carter and we talk about this news from yesterday. I mean, what are some of your thoughts?
This is, something that immediately came into mind for me and came into play, is that when we look at acts like this, doing a hoax, a false report, this is exactly why there is so much mistrust between community and police. And when we just heard Mayor Harrell earlier this week talking about the ways that he's kind of going to go about police reform. It is necessary. I mean, the ideas of the abuse of power has been alive and well in policing for so many generations. It's just one of those things where I say to myself, how do you look at yourself in the mirror knowing that that's what you're perpetuating and how you're using your position of power when you're supposed to be here protecting the people? So it's one of those things where I can't wait to hear Justin come in and you and him talk about it, because reading the article, seeing the special, I was just like, come on, man, once again.
Yeah, I think one of the things this most interesting to me, right? You got me over there, Samar? Yeah. All right. Oh, the monitors are slow. My apologies. One of the things that was very interesting to me is that, Dan Beekman from the Seattle Times did a lot of follow-up and actually talking to people and some everything else. And what's crazy is the nonchalantness, right? And what's wild to me is that anything that happens here, I'm thinking about like our brand and how's it impact our public image, and how's the public going to trust Converge or anything else. But what was interesting is, irregardless of what occurred there, is that you don't hear people saying like, you know what, even just the optics of it, of this is damaging to their institution, and you don't really hear that. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you kind of wonder. And it's kind of like, oh, hey, well, by the way, this happened. We didn't mean whatever. But it's like, where's the actual care about the institution itself and the public trust into the institution? It's like, well, hindsight 2020. And that's one of the things that really troubles me, is that, man, is there no care or concern of how the public will perceive this institution here? Is there anybody who's like, you know what? Yeah, hindsight is 2020. And in hindsight, we definitely didn't want to damage the trust between, so it's just interesting to see like how much care or lack thereof there is about the relationship between the people and the police.
Yeah, this is huge. And again, I think as we think about ways to take in these experiences and do something different, this is why I'm always saying bold approaches are necessary, innovative approaches, doing something that really centers community, that's what the police are here to protect. And so it'll be really interesting to see how maybe this information plays into some of the ways that they're thinking about reform.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I'll talk to this more with Justin, but this is one of the things we talked about, right, man? Let's get this out, right? Let's get this out. Let's not drag this into a new year. Let's not drag this into a new administration. Let's not, Mayor Harrell was there 2 days ago talking about, hey, just give us a chance, give us an opportunity and everything else. And people are activated. You know what I'm saying? Like they are activated. So appreciate you, Trey. We'll take a break right here. When we come back, we're joined by, there it is, Justin Carter, publisher, Capitol Hill, Seattle blog. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
adored guest at Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It's a tale as old as time. In a brand new production by the Fifth Avenue Theater. Return to the magic of live theater with one of the most enchanting musicals of all time. Disney's Beauty and the Beast at the Fifth. January 12th to February 6th. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. And joined now by Justin Carter, publisher, CapitolHillSeattle.com, Capitol Hill Seattle blog. How are you?
Doing well. Not quite as busy as you. You're a busy man right now.
Man, we ain't that busy. I was busy a while ago. I'm just
Sure. It took some time, didn't it?
Yeah, it just took some time. We were busy a long time ago, man. 13, 14 months ago, actually. So all of this occurred on Capitol Hill, or targeting Capitol Hill and everything else, and that's literally your beat. And Capitol Hill, and mostly all of D3, and wanted to bring you in here today, first of all, to get your overall thoughts about this, and then also maybe some of the response that you've been hearing around Capitol Hill.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me and giving me this opportunity to talk about the story, which is really important for the neighborhood. My first thought about it was how much this pretty clumsy act, but also amazingly high level act. I mean, literally approved by SPD leadership, in kind of a clumsy way, but still a intelligence tactic. How much that contributed to the feelings of the war zone that descended on Capitol Hill. There's a lot of criticism of the protests from some corners that, it turned Capitol Hill into this dangerous place. It turned it into this war zone. And there are some factors, of course, from this really tense, important situation that developed by Callie Anderson. But this documents how much of that feeling, how much of the war and how much of the danger came from another element that we think that, this is the protect and serve. It turns out actually kind of a tactic from maybe a theater of war, something you might have used to defeat the enemy, was being used, a literal disinformation campaign to put bad information into the community and try and scare people and try and get activities and to incent actions, I think, that probably would have really caused a lot of damage and a lot of danger and could have really spiraled out of control. So I feel like, we dodged a bullet, and I'm really glad to see it come into light now. Right.
And, during that time, everybody was listening to the radio. Mm-hmm. So it isn't like, clearly the protest groups were definitely listening to the radio. Media was listening to the radio. Residents on Capitol Hill are listening to the radio. So it isn't like it's just the protesters who heard this.
The folks that perpetrated this hoax, this improper ruse, as the OPA put it, they were also kind of tapped in and aware that the scanner, as people call it, police radio, had become accessible to everybody. Lots of services had been developed and are still being used now for folks to monitor and record and mark and make it into almost a community effort to listen to the police. And at that time, the procedures used by SPD were much more wide open as far as chatter went on the channels. Back in the day, when I first started doing this, it was really open. Some police officers acted like nobody was listening, which clearly was not the case. But that became more locked down, and now it's extremely locked down. I mean, in the time since this ruse occurred, so many of the really important communications now have gone into digital encryption on the channels, and you can't hear anything that's going on. But this is a transition that's come in time, and it's really a testament to how much has changed since already, and it's been such a long time since this happened. In some ways, this kind of ruse would be difficult to perpetuate now, exactly the way it went down there. There's the digital encryption use in an important crowd control event is much higher now, much more broad. And so you wouldn't even have had this kind of chatter. So it was almost like perfectly timed, and just, it's not, I don't want to give anybody credit for being some kind of evil genius. To me, you can read so many of the real clumsy elements of this procedure and what went down, but it happened to be very well timed. There was a ton of access, a ton of attention. People were frightened. There'd been a shooting at 11th and Pine at the protest the night before. The East Precinct was abandoned. People were worried about being able to call 911. So tensions were very high. This was a real surgical strike.
I think that it's important there that you actually, put the whole thing in the big picture. That I mean, the day before, someone drove their car into a crowd of protesters, and Dan was shot right there.
Dan Gregory.
Right, Dan Gregory got shot, and then the driver of the car, the shooter, walked out and walked into the East Precinct. Right, and you're right. That's what happened the day before, and so it's actually like this literally happened. A car came in. Into the protesters, shot a protester. The driver went into the precinct. The next day, the precinct is abandoned. And then later on that night, you hear police chatter saying the Proud Boys are on their way.
Sure. And the tactics that were being used by SPD around crowd control, weaponry have been discussed quite a bit. And the damage and the documentation of things like tear gas, we know about those things. This adds yet another weapon that was being deployed in a less strategic way, but still a weapon that was being used. And it was an information weapon. And personally, I mean, beyond the neighborhood, as a journalist, I feel targeted. I'm, certain that the part of the effort there, part of what they were hoping, is for journalists like myself to pick up those messages and spread them. And I can look through my record of Twitter at the time and see elements of where these kinds of stories slip in and how this kind of information can shape what we say and what we're telling people. And you can just start to see the damage that gets done to not only just the information that gets shared, but how it can erode things like reputations and the folks we need to trust. It's a real damaging thing that had occurred.
It's interesting you say that, because when I sent the tape over to OPA, I also put in a screenshot from the Seattle Times. And in the Seattle Times, it's just a mention there that, there was reports that the Proud Boys were on their way, but they didn't show up. I mean, that was just fabricated false information that made its way into the Seattle Times. Right there.
Yeah, it's amazing how phrases can become toxic. Simple, like you're just trying to explain the story as a journalist, and if you leave out an attribution or a phrase like, Seattle police said, or via East Precinct radio we heard, if you leave those things out, all of a sudden you start to make something like a factual part of the record. And that happens in these kinds of stories because it is such a fast moving, such a big story. And there's so many lines of facts that you're writing down. So yeah, I think it's a real, I'm looking through my coverage, I read back through that period. And it is interesting to see some of the risk points. I'm proud when I see moments where, okay, well, we did well. There are times where I see a question, and I do hope there might be more efforts. There's an incident that happened weeks after the June 8th Proud Boys report that we covered that involved a really strange radio sequence of a car driving around with a "Don't Tread on Me" sticker and supposedly shots fired. And it seemed very similar to all this. And at the time, it was very difficult to separate these kinds of events because, as a neighborhood reporter, I was getting them from all angles. I had messages from all sorts of people telling me about the things that they were seeing or what they thought they saw, or often what they had been told other people had seen. And chasing those all down, I guess that's going to be part of the historic process. I am extremely grateful that your process, that you were so strong in it, and that it made good ground, and we learned from it. I think it's amazing, actually, that this has been documented the way it is. I'm interested, though, in everything that did not get documented and all those elements that we still have to dig up and look into because of the amount of damage this one did. I think that there's more damage out there. There might be smaller cuts, but it's a day for the leaders of Seattle and Seattle police to look at themselves and see about the damage that was done.
And speaking of that, I think sometimes other people, it's a big city, almost 800,000 people here, 88 square miles. People might not understand that even taking the protesters, this group of people to the side, you know, the total impact is in like the neighborhood. I mean, Capitol Hill, you know, we're from the CD, but you know, Capitol Hill that's like our second home. You know what I'm saying? For sure. The love, the support that we get up there at Capitol Hill. But what's the impact of all of this been on Capitol Hill? And also kind of how every few months there's another story out.
I've always been very sensitive about making it too much about neighbors and too much about the community around, because the Black Lives Matter movement, that damage should be talked about first. But, you know, we talked about that with the tear gas, how it seeped into people's apartments around the zone. And in the same way, you can talk about this disinformation. It seeped into apartments. It seeped into homes. It frightened people. It stressed them out. People were lucky that nobody did anything stupid or rash, or, you know, people may have tried and they weren't successful. It was a powder keg for a lot of folks, and in the neighbors too. It was people were stressed. Now, on the other side, I don't know if these officers and the supervisors realize, but I think it also, you know, these are the kinds of things that did also galvanize some of the protest effort, and sometimes some of the negative elements of the protest, or the elements of the protest that are harder for someone like me who's living in the neighborhood. And it's like, you know, I don't want to see guns on my corner, even though I know some people felt it was very important for them to have guns at the camp. Those elements, you know, it backfired in many ways for the disinformation campaign, because people started to think, well, yeah, this is the kind of thing that these people might need. These protesters might need out there, because there is this threat. And so it created this real strange mess, this real sloppy mess. And, you know, and it's clearly it was not well thought out. It's amazing how well it worked, but, you know, there's also probably a lot of little dominoes that got flipped that didn't work. Little things that they put out that they were hoping other things would happen. Those kinds of messages are currently lost into the big fuzz, and could have been just as damaging.
Yeah, you know, what was real interesting, again, big shout out to Spec. You know, Spec had this audio, and the thing is that well, I said last night, I wish I could say that, you know, I was holding a candle for this story from the beginning. I mean, it was, you know, being there in the middle of it was coming at us fast for a whole month. But it wasn't, I remember Spec was putting it out like, nah, this doesn't sound right. He had the audio. And it wasn't until November when another story came out from a different media company here talking about Chief Scoggins and text messages and everything else. And I mean, it was a very sensational story, and us over here researching that story, because we're like, man, that don't sound right, came across the footage of people saying, hey, the Proud Boys are on the way. And that's what sparked me to reach out to Spec. Sure.
And that's why journalists who are doing this right, we do need to work with people like Spec, and he, you know, he embodies a lot of people on social media in Seattle. That there were a lot of people working on this, and I don't want to take anything away from his effort. There were others though that were also saying this is weird as hell, and this is dangerous, and this is wrong. And that is, you know, that is, if you want to look for some positive hope out of all this, is that the disinformation threat was identified. It was dealt with to a degree. It was handled, and the situation was calmed the way it needed to be as much as possible. And it is that mixture though of people like Spec, and then people like you, people like me, people like Seattle Times. There is room for all of those kinds of journalists to work together, and it's going to be frustrating sometimes, because I think folks like Spec are going to feel like they're being ignored. But also, I think that a lot of people would acknowledge that there's, you know, it's funny, speculative digging into this kind of thing. There's going to be a much wider array of stories to follow and facts to dig into. And there's one thing to pick up some social media around it and to broadcast it. The next step though is to take it to another level and make more come out of it. And that's where I think that's we need as much of that to join the effort of folks like Spec. We really do need people to dig in deeper and to tell what happened and explain these things.
Right. And even my conversation with Spec, it wasn't like we just got the tape and was like, here, OP. I mean, like, I was constantly like, you know, second by second by second. Are you sure? I didn't want to go to OPA without being very certain and talking to a lot of people.
Don't want to take away from their work. I mean, it is real journalism. And it's just lots of different types need to come together to make this kind of thing fly and make it work and make the truth come out. Yeah,
no doubt. And I mean, speaking of OPA, you know, and speaking of these cases here, man, this has a long tail, bro. You know, it went in November of last year, and I think they officially opened a case maybe in January, and it just came out. And, you know, for me, this wasn't never really about, this wasn't never really about my story or Converge or something, or else, you know, we knew it was coming. We would have planned a whole, you know, hey, this and that and everything else. And even a lot of other reporters here around the city were like, well, we know it's your story. I was like, man, you know what? This isn't my story. This is Seattle's story. It just needs to come out, because at least for somebody like me, man, we impacted every time another one of these cases comes out, you know, and it's almost like the terms I was using and trying to communicate with the city is like, it's drip, drip, drip. It's like you tear the scab off. And I just wonder, in the police oversight ecosystem, if people put that in mind, like, man, you know what, how can we best go about this work to be able to, no matter the outcomes, the findings, some we agree, disagree, but we can say that they've gone through the work and they've put it out in a timely process and everything else, because now this is dragged into a new year and into a new administration.
And to a new world in Seattle policing. I mean, so many of the people that should be on the line are gone already. And, you know, it is difficult to look at the timeline and not ask questions about that, about why this took so long and why now it comes with so many people who could be held responsible and should be held responsible are no longer with the department.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is too, is that you just never know on the exit interview, you know, somebody who organizes a hoax leaves the exit interview and they say like, yeah, I'm leaving because there's no support from City Hall or something like that. You know, I mean,
no support for police in Seattle that we, you know, did a improper ruse against. So yeah, I'm sure that probably was on some of the exit interviews.
You know, I mean, the other thing as well is in actually talking with some Seattle police officers, there's a lot of officers that have come across who think this was crap. They think it was a bad idea, and that this just turns back their efforts, you know what I'm saying? Especially the officers that are engaged in community and trying to build relationships in community. And it's just like, this is counterproductive. Let me put up, we got an overlay here from Seattle Mayor Harrell. Oh, there's your nice article. It's another one there. It says Harrell overlay. There you go. All right. Well, I guess I could read the whole thing. It'll take a second here. Misinformation, especially of this inflammatory nature, is totally unacceptable from our Seattle police officers, from whom we expect and demand the highest standard of truth. While I'm glad the officers who originated this deception are no longer with the force, this kind of tactic never should have been considered, condoned, or carried out in the first place. The path to de-escalation is never through the threat, real or fake, of further agitation. The damage done to the public by an incident like this is immeasurable. It is a clear breakdown in leadership. We simply cannot have a chief or command staff claim they are unaware of such critical tactical decisions, whether in this instance or abandoning the East Precinct. When I talk about changing the culture of the Seattle Police Department, this is exactly the kind of conduct I'm thinking of. This cannot happen again, period. We'll be meeting with Chief Diaz and command staff to ensure this does not happen again. We'll also be conferring with the Public Safety Chair, Lisa Herbold, to consider recommendations the City Council may have in this regard.
Yeah, there's tough statements in there. The teeth are either missing or still to be formed. It's a challenge for the administration at this point to find something concrete to do in this. You've got labor issues. You've got the fact that the folks have left the department. Legislative, like solutions from Herbold and the council, that could be important for the structure, but it's difficult to tell a department, don't treat your citizenry like you're in a war zone. That's the real message. How that actually is going to be conveyed, I guess, is going to be a big test for the Herald administration right out of the gate here. And it's a problem that's real for him, even though it happened 18 months ago. This is a real thing for him to solve. Yeah, and I mean, I think you see on Twitter and other social and platforms and everything else is that people are activated. There's a lot of voices we haven't really heard from in months and everything else, and maybe a lot of people who might have been like, hey, well, let's wait and see what's happening here. And so it's first week on the job, man. People are very much activated now around these police issues. A few 1-2 things I want to say before I let you go is that, one, I appreciate you, from way back in the bunker, way back in the bunker in the middle of the Seattle protests, man. You've always been a voice, a very credible voice, a very objective voice about, what was happening in real time. I thank you for your coverage, not only, of course, there in Capitol Hill, but, where we're at the Central District and across D3 on very important issues. You're always somebody I could just hit up and be like, man, is this, remember early on, it was all these court documents that were coming out, and I'd hit you. I'd be like, is this thing real? You know what I'm saying? And you're like, oh, there's some database. You have to find the number to see if it's, I had no idea, And so your contributions over here at Converge have been immeasurable. And I just think, like, with this case, like all these protest cases, man, I don't think we could ever find, if we want to be able to really move forward, and people do this fake fast news cycle, move forward, hearts go out, prayers kind of thing or whatever, without no real resolution. And I think that people need to also understand that when we talk about people impacted, there's the protesters on the ground. There's the people in the neighborhood. There's the businesses. There was people beyond the neighborhood, vicariously through live streams and everything else. But, man, that we just have to have the truth come out, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And like I said, for me, it's not for another scoop or a story. This protest so impacted our city that I just think it's important for our whole city that no matter what it is, everything just comes out. It is a testament to journalism. It's about work on the street. It's about observations on social media that then were measured and looked at on who people were actually seeing at Cal Anderson. And it is about databases. It's about finding where those reports are and finding out the report number and getting some public information officer to dig up some little piece that then gives you the next piece, and then something gives you a bigger piece, and then all of a sudden you have a complaint or you have an investigation. So I do think that, again, looking for positive things and doing some real soul searching myself around this story, because this was like, I knew this had happened and I knew there was this funky stuff going on the radio, but there's a lot of funky stuff going on the radio. There's a lot of big questions, a lot of things that, go bump in the night and freak you out a little bit. And so, being able to shine light on this one, actually, I decided instead of freaking me out, I do feel better. I feel good that there is an answer finally around one of these. And I think, you can start to draw lines about how it came together, and maybe we can do better on some of the other answers, and maybe, get a little more efficient when it's people like you and me working together, and just the way, or just this ecosystem of journalism that has survived and media that survived here. So yeah, we can do things like fight disinformation. We have tools. It might take some time apparently, and this isn't even close to being over yet, but yeah, the tools are there and the people are there, and the passion is there. So let's go get them. Let's not wait. All right, good stuff. Tell people how they can catch up with you in Capitol Hill Seattle blog. Sure. I'm at capitolhillseattle.com, and you can find me on Twitter at jseattle. All right, good stuff. Thank you. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to go straight into, we got a motion graphic for it, do we? Yeah, we do. Look at some ones. We're scrolling. It's the Rewind with Besa.
There it is. So it's pre-recorded, about 4 minutes long. So we're going to go commercial break. We'll come back with Besa. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
In the depths of Belize, the travelers come across the waters, harvesting with their hands, learning of resilience rooted deep in the lands. Culture thriving like a fire ablaze, sizzling with a pop and a chop, sharing its ways. Knowledge simmers and grinds into the hearts and minds, cutting away from the surface stories and colonial lies, boiling it down, breaking its shell as the truth pours out and gets plated collectively with love, spooned into bowls, feeding the soul. Garifuna, alive and strong at Palmetto Grove.
Hey y'all, T-Dub here, letting you know about another art funding opportunity. For culture recovery funding for individuals is available now, and here's what you need to know to apply. Are you a cultural producer who has been impacted by the pandemic? If you answered yes, but what is a cultural producer? Well, you are a cultural producer if your work, paid or unpaid, is dedicated to creating cultural experiences in any discipline or at any stage of your career. Some examples include exhibit designers, museums educations, archivists, restoration professionals, curators, history researchers, artists, of course, and more. In understanding that grant language can sometimes feel exclusive to specific people, using terms like cultural producer is one of the ways For Culture seeks to broaden its scope of applicants. In other words, this funding is for you. And look, the application fatigue is real. I get it, they get it. But the For Culture staff is here to walk you through it. They have grants from $1,000 to $12,000, so please don't miss out. The deadline to apply is Wednesday, February 2nd. Head to forculture.org/recovery to get information on virtual group workshops, application support, language translation, and more.
We invite you to be our guest at Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It's a tale as old as time in a brand new production by the Fifth Avenue Theater. Return to the magic of live theater with one of the most enchanting musicals of all time. Disney's Beauty and the Beast at the Fifth, January 12th to February 6th. Tickets at fifthavenue.org.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and guess what? It is time for a quick rewind with Besa on what's gone down this week, and frankly, what's actually happening tonight. In bad news, it looks like last night there was a shooting/robbery at a freaking cannabis store. I want to say it was Dockside over on Aurora. From what I've been seeing, it looks like one guy was shot and very, very badly injured. They said that he was recovering in the hospital from his injuries, so hopefully he makes it through. In good Seattle news, if you're a Giveon fan like myself, you know that he was actually supposed to be here December 22nd. However, he ended up postponing his show due to the fact that a couple people on his team actually had COVID. So now the show is happening tonight. I want to say it's going to be at Neumos, but that's a little bit weird. What you guys don't realize is that originally his concert was going to be at Neumos. They ended up switching it to Showbox Market, and now it's saying that it's back at Neumos. So I don't know. I'm going to do a little extra digging. Definitely keep up with me on social media at Besa Gordon, because honestly, I'm just going to text his label rep and see where the concert's going to be at. No point in working harder than I need to. Also in Seattle news, later on tonight, there is going to be a party at VU Seattle, okay? So look, even if you're not going to the Giveon concert, definitely come out to VU. It's gonna be a schmood. The party's getting put on by Laid Back Allure. Plus, there's going to be music by Chris Karma and DJ Tab. Plus, they're also saying that a special guest is going to come. I'm not sure who the special guest is. I have a hunch, but I'm not going to jinx the situation. Some colleges and universities are now actually requiring for their students to get booster shots before before coming back to school. Now, what kind of sucks about this is that so far we don't necessarily know what the consequence will be. Do you guys remember back when they started requiring COVID shots for college students, and if you did not get your COVID vaccine, they were like, oh, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fine you. And then apparently some students were even unenrolled from their classes. So I'll keep you guys updated on what is going to happen to students in these different colleges and universities if they do not get the booster shot. But in the meantime, check the list, and if you know somebody on that list, make sure they have their booster, or at least make sure that they're informed of what they need to do if they decide not to get the booster shot. In music news, the late Aaliyah has a new album dropping later on this month. Now, we don't know exactly when the album is going to drop. We just know that it's dropping this month. Now, there is a little bit of controversy about the album due to the fact that there are no women features on it. Apparently, Drake is on the album, Future is on the album, Chris Brown is on the album, Neo, and I want to say The Weeknd is also going to be on the album. They do say there's going to be a special guest on there, but unless it's Beyonce, unless it's another woman, like, what's the reason of keeping it such a secret? You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're still trying to figure out what song that they want to add on there, and so they're not 100% sure who the special guest is going to be on. But I do plan on checking out the album once it drops, because at the end of the day, Aaliyah has been gone for a long time. So for you to come out with a full album of her unreleased music, I just gotta see how they put this together. In more music news, The Weeknd is dropping his Dawn FM album tonight. Technically, it says that he's dropping it Friday, but in case you guys haven't realized, being on the West Coast, we actually get the albums Thursday night at 9 p.m. So check out the track list. I'm going to tap into the album because he gave us this. First of all, the cover is very interesting in its own. Second of all, the little snippet that he ended up giving us, it was like a little mini music video, has definitely made me very curious about what he is talking about on this album and the energy that he's going to be giving us. And lastly, in music news, the Grammys has officially postponed this year's award show, okay? It was actually supposed to happen January 31st, but due to all of the COVID that's going on, because Miss Omicron, Omarion, whatever y'all want to call it, she is not playing with the girls, okay? They wanted no part, so they decided to postpone it until things cool down a little bit. As you guys know, I am a part of the Recording Academy, so if I get any extra info on when it is going to be rescheduled, I will let you know. Now, Kanye West and his soon-to-be ex-wife, Kim Kardashian, have actually been in the news a lot lately. Rumor has it that Kanye West is actually dating actress Julia Fox, I want to say her name is, and they were recently seen in Miami going to dinner, living their best cute rich lives, and the rumor has it, at least according to Radar Online, he actually hired those paparazzis to come out and take photos of him and Julia in order to make Kim Kardashian jealous, because y'all know Kim Kardashian is living her best life over there with Pete Davidson right about now, obviously not worried about Kanye, who also bought a house directly across the street from her. A little weird, but hey. Now, when it comes to Kanye West buying that house directly across the street from Kim Kardashian, sources are saying that Kim doesn't really mind, but her family and friends are like, no, this is just weird and a bit much. And personally, I'm with the family and friends. Like, so you're going on a date, I'm going on a date, and our kids are just living across the street from us, living, like, I don't know. I just feel like Kanye West has the money to have simply bought a house down the damn street. He didn't have to buy a house directly across the street from her. He definitely was being petty with that, and he frankly has the money to do it. With that being said, that's all I got right now for Rewind with Besa. You already know, keep up with me on all your social media platforms at Besa Gordon. And of course, tap in with me weekdays 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Cube 93.3.
In the depths of Belize, the travelers come across the waters, harvesting with their hands, learning of resilience rooted deep in the lands. Culture thriving like a fire ablaze, sizzling with a pop and a chop, sharing its ways. Knowledge simmers and grinds into the hearts and minds, cutting away from the surface stories and colonial lies, boiling it down, breaking its shell as the truth pours out and gets plated collectively with love, spooned into bowls, feeding the soul. Garifuna, alive and strong at Palmetto Grove.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. You see right there, Clapback Culture tonight at 7 o'clock. Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald, Julia Jessie right here, Converge Media. Great conversation they got going on. Now, Trey Holiday, we also saw there in that commercial break, Feel Good Friday. You know me, this is my Friday, so I'm over here like, yes. But tomorrow it's all you, and it's Feel Good Friday.
Yeah, Feel Good Friday tomorrow. I'm so excited to be able to do these shows on Fridays and really bring us all home for the whole rest of the week. Excited to be able to sit down with Noni tomorrow. Noni is the founder of the Kwanzaa Awards, also has Kanar Park Kids. And so, Noni really brings such a warmth and pleasure. She's so connected to community. And this is an effort that I'm so glad that she said, wait a minute, I need to make sure I come to Converge and I present this to the community here at Converge. So I'll be so excited to talk with Noni about some of the behind the scenes things going on with the Kwanzaa Awards.
Yeah, and you're nominated for a Kwanzaa Award.
Yeah, I mean, you are too, my friend. Look at that.
I'm real low pro. I wasn't gonna mention that, but yeah, I am, you know what I'm saying? So it's it'll be great. And I'm glad, I said it earlier in the week, I guess it was Monday, but the way that Noni has gone about these Kwanzaa Awards it's really good, and the way that they got feedback from community, the nominations, everything else. And I did get a phone call.
Yeah, see that personal touch. I mean, that to me is somebody that says, no, I'm part and parcel of this community. Let me make sure I call these people up and let them know they are finalists for these awards.
Wow. So I can't believe we had Julia Jessie and we had Justin Carter on a very important issue here. We heard from Bass on the Rewind, and we're still on time. That being said, before we get out of here, any last words, Trey Holiday?
Oh, always. I mean, something we breached today just showcases how people stepped up to the plate to see themselves as part of the solution during the 2020 protest movement. Clearly, journalists have been such a major key factor in that, but it also was individuals that stepped outside of their comfort zone, were out there outside of their homes, really, demanding justice for Black lives. And I want to tell you guys, man, find a way to be a part of some amazing solutions, whether we're out there in a protest season or you're experiencing discrimination in your job, in an educational environment, wherever you're seeing it. If you are pushing back on that discrimination, trust me, you're seeing yourself as part of the solution. Find a way to be part of an amazing solution today.
All right, good stuff. Man, it's a short week for me, but it's been a long week. And I would just say that it was crazy. Like, we knew, and people knew yesterday. I was like, yo, I can't say what it is, but 2:00, you know what I'm saying? Be ready for it. With this stuff coming out yesterday, it wasn't and people have been sending a lot of congratulations and stuff on the internet. And I'm a loud kind of person, but I'm also like a real shy kind of person, when it comes to stuff like that. And this information is just important for our city, no matter where it might lead us. It's important. We can't. It's a segment of our city that has trouble moving forward, and it's a segment of our city that's impacted. And I just happen to have the microphone, but I know it's not just me and it's not just us. And, if we really wanted to aspire to be the city that we can be, the shining emerald city that, there's an old saying that rock bottom is a great place to build a new foundation. So, man, let's just get to the bottom of all these things. And so people can actually start to heal. Yesterday it was so funky. The dark clouds, every time we bring up this protest, and that's why I'm glad I'm off tomorrow. Because, it's a visceral reaction. It's a cloud that looms in here into the studio because we're always reliving these things. And hopefully this is one step closer to people being able to resolve and find a way to be able to move forward.
Absolutely. Oh, 100%. Truth actually brings about the opportunity for healing.
That's it. Good stuff. Well, man, fortunately for me, I'm out of here, man. And I'm back on Monday, of course, with Trey Holiday. Feel Good Friday is tomorrow. And on that note, want to remind you, go forward in your purpose, go forward in your humanity. And until Feel Good Friday tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.